Hello guys, good morning everybody. If I am audible, let me know. Hanji, good morning everybody guys. If I am audible, let me know. Audible. Okay. Just let me know whether this PDF is visible to you guys. Yes, this PDF is visible to you. Okay. So what I have done is I have highlighted certain important aspects of today's news, right? So that we're going to discuss these aspects and you can always refer to these aspects, right? So that you can have better understanding to this particular topic. Now, the first topic that we have in today's context is it is related to fiscal deficit, right? So they are basically having certain projections where they are trying to say over here that the fiscal deficit may breach 5.9% of the GDP. Now, before I discuss this aspect, let's try to understand what is this fiscal deficit. I think everybody must be knowing about fiscal deficit, but let me give you a little background so that you guys have a clear idea related to fiscal deficit. Now, earlier, when we talk about fiscal deficit, before the fiscal deficit, there used to be a terminology which was widely used in our Indian fiscal system, that was budget deficit. Now, budget deficit used to consist of all the expenditure, whether it was capital and revenue, and all the receipts, whether they were revenue and capital. And it also included the receipts that were generating a debt as well. So here we used to include borrowings as a part of receipts as well when you used to calculate budget deficit. But that was discontinued from 1997, and we brought in a new measure in order to understand the deficit that the government has in a one financial year, and that deficit was known as the fiscal deficit. Now, fiscal deficit, yes, it includes all the expenditure, capital, and revenue. It includes revenue receipts as well, but it doesn't include all the capital receipt. It only include those capital receipts that are non-debt generating. So in this receipt part, when we are calculating fiscal deficit, we are not including what I say is the what we call it as the borrowings को हम include नहीं करते हैं. और जो फिजिकल डेफिसिट है एक्चुअली में हमें क्या बताता है कि एक्चुअली में हमारे देश में बोरोइंग्स कितनी है. एंड ओवर हियर दे आर ट्राइंग टू गिव अस एन आइडिया दैट दिस मे ब्रीच द 5.9% of GDP target for this year and can hit 6% as well. Though they are saying why we must be witnessing this deficit that is beyond the target. Why? Reason is, yes, we have good tax collection, but one thing that has not come in our context in our favor is the shortfall in the disinvestment outcomes. Now, everything who are, I am thinking that those who are online with me will quickly tell me in the comment box what part under receipts I will put in the disinvestment. जो डिसइन्वेस्टमेंट से हमें पैसा आ रहा है, हम वो कौन सी रिसीट्स का पार्ट बनवाएंगे? कैपिटल रिसीट्स का, रेवेन्यू रिसीट्स का, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल. एंड इफ इट इज अ पार्ट ऑफ कैपिटल रिसीट्स, इज इट डेट जनरेटिंग और नॉन डेट जनरेटिंग? क्विकली टेल मी इन द कमेंट बॉक्स. हाँ जी, आई एम वेटिंग फॉर योर रिप्लाई. जो डिसइन्वेस्टमेंट से पैसा आ रहा है, प्रोसीड्स आ रही हैं, वेयर वी विल बी पुटिंग इट, अंडर कैपिटल, डेट और नॉन डेट? Only one guy has given me the correct answer, right? Rest of you haven't. Only now the answers are coming, right? Very good. Yes, it would come under non-debt generating capital receipts. Very good. So that means your concepts are very much clear, and this is a point that we have to understand, and this is a point that we have to remember, right? And one other thing that you have to also understand is that whenever we talk about annual financial statement, right, that comes not the term that has been used in the constitution, that is a budget, but that word that has been used in the what the framework of our constitution is the annual financial statement. So there we get all these numbers along with what we call it as macroeconomic framework statement, medium term fiscal policy, come strategy statement, right? Over there we get these particular numbers of fiscal deficit, primary deficit, what we call as monetized deficit, right? Everything we get under the numbers of the let's say annual financial statement. I hope this aspect is clear to everybody, right? Now, moving to the next aspect. अच्छा, अब ये आर्टिकल बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग है, दैट इज व्हाई वी आर डिस्कसिंग इट इज बेसिकली अबाउट द एस्पेक्ट्स that have happened in 2023 and what would be the outlook for 2024, right? The article why we are discussing, because it has been written by MK Narayanan sir, and he's a former director intelligence bureau, a former national security advisor, and a former governor of West Bengal. So let's try to understand the whole international order as well as the national order, so that we have a better understanding of all the situation, right? So this article, what we will try to do is we will try to understand more from IR point of view, international relations, rather than internal point of view, because that could be a little bias and could be against the government aspect as well, right? So we will try to consider the aspect of the international relation. Now the first problem, that is the geostrategic problems that we are witnessing, it is in Russia Ukraine thing. I think everybody is understanding, right? So here they have been saying that the war in Ukraine, though stalemate, अभी वहां पे कुछ हो नहीं रहा है, could well become highly combustible as 2024 progresses. A Biden victory in the United States election may well depend on the way the war in Ukraine turns as a divisive defeat for Putin's Russia. So this is the aspect that we have to understand, that there is a lot of things that are hinging upon the way the war is being done in Russia, Ukraine, and accordingly you would gonna have the presidential candidate in USA. The second important thing that we have to understand is in the conflict that has been taking place in the West Asia, that is between Israel and Hamas, right? So one of the aspect that we have to understand is, if we talk about Western countries like USA, they have been trying to tread a very cautious path. Yes, they are condemning the violence, but they are also taking the side of the Israel as well, who have also committed certain violence on the people of the Gaza as well, right? So this is also another problem that is there if we talk about in the situation in the Middle East. The third important thing that we have to understand is that when we talk about West Asia, there, if we talk about the power axis, we can say slightly it is being tilted towards now Russia and China. Why? Because most of these Arab countries are now moving away from USA, and it is lining more and more siding with Russia and let's say चाइना एज वेल एज ईरान, राइट? तो ये एक इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है जो हमें समझनी चाहिए, जैसे कि एम के नारायण सर ने भी आर्टिकल में बोला है दैट ईरान, रशिया, चाइना are already extending support to nations across West Asia, thus challenging the West leadership of the global strategic commons. So this is one of the aspects that we have to understand, that what we are witnessing right now in the West Asia region, right? तो ये चीज बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट है, right? So this understanding makes it very important for you and helps you a lot while you are writing your examination, especially if we talk about GS paper 2, because then you get a clear idea that what is the whole situation in the let's say world, and what are the things that are being going on in the geopolitics. So first thing is related to Russia Ukraine, second thing is related to West Asia, and one of the things that you have to understand is that Iran, Russia, and China have been extending support to the countries, and they are being pitting against the USA. The third important thing that is there, that is important for Indian context in case of international relation is, see, अगर इस टाइम हम इंडो चाइना रिलेशंस की बात कर रहे हैं, वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट इंडो चाइना रिलेशंस, वन थिंग यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट चाइना इज कंप्लीटली कन्विंस्ड दैट इंडिया इज अ पार्ट ऑफ यूएस डोमिनेटेड एंटी चाइना अलायंस दैट इज एडवोकेटेड फ्रॉम द फ्री एंड ओपन इंडो पैसिफिक पॉलिसी. China is convinced that India is a anti-China part alliance in context of USA. Why? Because USA, Canada, Japan, South Korea, India, they have been advocating for rules based, right, free and open Indo-Pacific, and that is against the interest of the China. Even though we will might not see in 2024 any escalations between India and China, but one of the things that we have to understand is that the relations will continue to be like the ones that have been in 2023, that they're gonna be a complete stalemate when it comes to relations between India and China, because China को लगता है कि इंडिया यूएसए की ही बातें बोल रहा है और उनके अकॉर्डिंगली ही चल रहा है, और वो जो कह रहे हैं, the things that have been said by US is being reiterated by India. So this is the third geopolitical context that we have to understand. That is a big context, that is India and China. The fourth important thing that you have to understand is, if when we talk about India's external relations, India now is not only closer to Russia, but it has also extended and improved its friendship with other Western countries as well. Now, in this context and in this scenario, Russia and China can become very closer. If Russia and China can become very closer, then it will lead to weakening of India and Russia ties. Plus, it will also have a direct impact on India's relation and accessibility to Central Asia. this is the point that we have to understand, that China has become a now very global player. If we talk about in context of West Asia, Central Asia, तो अगर हमें सेंट्रल एशिया और वेस्ट एशिया पे होल्ड पकड़ रखनी है, हमें रशिया से दोस्ती मेंटेन करके रखनी पड़ेगी, एंड वी हैव टू इंप्रूव ऑन द रिलेशन बिटवीन इंडिया एंड रशिया, बिकॉज रशिया होल्ड्स द पाथ फॉर सेंट्रल एशिया एंड चाइना होल्ड्स द पाथ फॉर वेस्ट एशियन countries. And even when we talk about our external neighbors that we have, right, so this is the point that we have to understand, that yes, in certain areas our relations have been improving, like in the case of Nepal, Bhutan and Bangladesh, but there are certain areas, certain countries where the relations are not improving, and they have taken a very deep down dive, right. The one of the aspect you can understand over here is the example of Maldives, जहां पे हमारे रिलेशन Maldives के साथ अब इतने अच्छे नहीं है, because recently we come to understand that they have become more, the new government regime over there has been pro China, and they have also asked Indians, let's say military forces, to evacuate from Maldives, right. So these are the aspects that they have tried to understand over here, and this is the geopolitical scenario that they are trying to discuss over here. Next, the internal dynamics that they have tried to discuss, I think, don't think we need to go into those particular aspect, but this is the part that you need to understand, that what is the situation going on in, let's say, West Asia, Central Asia, India, China, and USA, Russia, and Ukraine. If we are able to understand these relations and these points, I think all are, let's say, half of our purpose is complete. I hope this point is clear to everybody. ओके, नाउ एक ही आर्टिकल था इस पेज पे जो मुझे लगा था इंटरेस्टिंग और हमें डिस्कस करना चाहिए, राइट. नाउ मूविंग टू द नेक्स्ट पार्ट. Okay, now this is a very interesting article and a very good article. This is basically related to women-led development and what are the concerns that are there related to women-led development, right. So one of the things that you need to understand is there was a G20 declaration that was to set up a working group on the empowerment of the women, right, to set up a working group on the empowerment of the women. Given the continuing discrimination against women and girls, this is welcome, but by and large, working groups formed in the past have not been implemented. For example, SDG goals have specific targets to address gender gaps. However, the declaration itself admits at the midway point to 2030, the global progress on SDGs is off track and only 12% of SDGs are on track. So one of the things that is being discussed over here is that they are talking about have a working group to enforce let's say empowerment of women. But the thing that they are forgetting over here is that we have in the past a lot of working groups, a lot of initiatives that have been there in order to address this issue of gender equality, inequality, right. But they haven't been successful, as it can be contributed from this fact that on the basis of sustainable development goals, we are just 12% of the targets that are on track. Rest all the targets that we have, that is off track. And I'm talking about the targets that have been given under सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट गोल्स दैट आर, इफ वी टॉक अबाउट टोटल कितने टारगेट है हमारे पास 17 गोल्स एंड 169 टारगेट्स है, राइट. सो दे आर टॉकिंग हियर इन द कंटेक्स्ट ऑफ 169 टारगेट्स. नाउ in this Indian context, what they are trying to say over here is that there is a certain aspect that we need to understand, that how we can say that India में अगर हम बात कर रहे हैं ये gender equality क्यों नहीं आ पा रही है, women की empowerment क्यों नहीं हो पा रही है, right. So these are two contexts that have been discussed. The first context is, yes, for the empowerment of women, we brought in gender budgeting from 2005 to 2006. Now, under the gender budgeting, let's try to understand. It has two parts, part A and part B. Part A is basically for the schemes that are 100% for women, and part B is basically government schemes where 1/3 of the expenditure is supposedly for the women. तो एक तरफ होता है जहां पे 100% स्कीम वुमेन के लिए होती है, दूसरी तरफ स्कीम नॉर्मल होती है, बट उसमें से 1/3 जो कंट्रीब्यूशन है वो सारा का सारा किसके लिए होगा, एक्सपेंडिचर, दैट इज शैल बी फॉर द वुमेन. But the things that we have been witnessing in context of gender budgeting, as it has been reiterated from the facts that are given in this editorial, is that the budget and the expenditure first of all has been reduced both for part A and part B. So this is one of the big concerns that has been discussed कि gender budgeting की अगर हम बात कर रहे हैं overall if we check करें तो धीरे धीरे करके there has been a lot of decrease in the expenditure. Second of all, not all the funds have been mobilized that have been reserved for the women. So this is one of the aspects that we have been delaying, and this is where we are not doing that much good enough. So as a result, that is why there is a question, what will the working group that has been set in G20 would be able to do something extra when already we have enough provision, we had gender budgeting, but still we are not able to achieve the things that we need to achieve. Second thing that has been reiterated is, yes, gender budgeting is very important, but second important thing is that if you want to make empower the woman, you need to make her financially independent. And in that financial context, according to periodic labor force survey, over 95% of the women are in unorganized sector with no job or income security. Most women are employed in flagship schemes of the central government. Almost around 1 crore workers that are women are in this Anganwadis, Asha workers, midday meal scheme workers, facilitator, or so on. However, they are the most exploited. They are given the least allowances, right? They are paid even below minimum wages, and they are not recognized as government employees. Also, the share of women, if we see from periodic labor force survey, it has increased in agriculture to 64.3% from 55.3%. This is mainly the unpaid work in the family farms. So one of the things that we get to know from this particular aspect is that we haven't been able to allocate more resources. We haven't been able to give the jobs to the women in the organized sector. As we can see that we are employing the women, but we are not paying them. Let's say in the context of agriculture, let's say in the context of providing services like Anganwadi, Asha workers, midday meal scheme workers, right? They are working, but they are getting exploited. They are not getting allowances, and they are not getting even the minimum of wages. So how we can say that we have led to women led development, right? So एक चीज होती है, यहाँ पे दो terminology discuss करी गई हैं. One is women development, one is women led development, right? So these are the two aspects that we need to understand, and the main focus and the priority shall be given to women led development as compared to women development. आई होप दिस एस्पेक्ट इज क्लियर टू एवरीबडी. बड़ा इजी आर्टिकल था, बट आपको ये डेटा याद रखना है जो हमने डिस्कस किया है. इट विल हेल्प यू इन राइटिंग योर एग्जाम्स एंड इल्यूसिडेटिंग बेसिकली योर पॉइंट्स, राइट? चलिए, नेक्स्ट पार्ट है. आप देख सकते हैं बड़ा ही सिंपल है. अगर हम यहाँ पे बात कर रहे हैं, यहाँ पे एक आर्टिकल है, मैं सिर्फ इसका जिस्ट डिस्कस करूंगा आपके साथ. तो यहाँ पे आप देख सकते हैं, official data shows that there has been decline in national employment from 6.1% in 2017 to 3.2% in 2022. Despite a decline in overall unemployment rate, highly educated youth face the disproportionate challenges in securing employment remains a consistent structural issue in India's economy. Now, this is the important part that you have to understand. ओवरऑल अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट रेट कम हुआ है, पर जो हाईली एजुकेटेड यूथ है उसको चैलेंज फेस करना पड़ रहा है अपनी इंप्लॉयमेंट को सिक्योर करने के लिए. एनालिसिस बताता है from 1993 to 2022 that individuals with higher education face consistently higher unemployment rates, notably reaching 13% in 2022 for graduates. As you can see over here, the figures have been given that are there in front of you. As you can see, unemployment of young graduates, it is something around this particular figure, and that is not a very good mark, but it is a very structural problem that has been highlighted. If we talk about young graduates that are aged between 18 to 29, particularly with high unemployment rates, with around 36% facing long spells of unemployment, declining to 27% by 2022, by still higher than previous periods. So this is the aspect that has been discussed over here. You need to understand this point कि हमारे देश में अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट कम हुई है, पर जो ग्रेजुएट्स है जिनकी हायर एजुकेशन है उनको प्रॉब्लम फेस करनी पड़ रही है अपनी नौकरी को लेने के लिए, राइट? डिसप्रपोर्शनेट वहां पे उनको फेस करना पड़ रहा है, बहुत ज्यादा दिक्कत है. आई होप दिस पॉइंट इज क्लियर, राइट? और यहाँ पे और इंटरेस्टिंग कुछ नहीं है. Vaibhav Thakur saying it's talking about us. Beta, you are not unemployed. You are seeking for a job. Tell me, how many of you right now in today's context are actively looking for a job? Hanji, quickly tell me. How many of you are looking for a job right now? Okay, two students are there. You're looking for a job, right? But you're not finding the job? See, there is a difference you have to understand. When we talk about unemployment, unemployment is basically those persons who are what we say looking for a job but are not able to find a job. No, you are not looking for a job actively right now in civil services. You are just preparing. If someone asks and comes you, let's say a particular person from NSO, what you are doing, you will be saying I am studying for civil services. You are not looking for a job right now when you are actively searching. समझ रहे हो ये हम किसकी बात कर रहे हैं? जब हम लेट्स से कि आपने डिग्री कर रही कॉलेज की, उसके बाद आप जॉब ढूंढ रहे हो, आप जा रहे हो, लोगों काम मांग रहे हो, इंटरव्यू दे रहे हो, पर फिर भी आपको जॉब नहीं मिल पा रही है किसी XYZ रीजन की वजह से, देन यू आर अनएम्प्लॉयड, राइट? ओके. Now, let's see certain highlights of yesterday's news. India is now playing a key role in solving global problems. Yes, very important. Ministry sends social media firm advisories to regulate deepfakes. We already know what is deepfake, right? Where this deepfake is being used in order to malign a particular's image, reputation, right? It is basically used in more in pornographic incident as well. So those are also aspects that has been discussed over here. Our Prime Minister has hit 2 crore subscribers on his YouTube channel, right? So that is a big achievement for our Prime Minister, right? That means that he is quite popular. Yes, my self-care economy. Okay, right. So these were the news. Okay. Now this is an interesting article. This is related to narrowing the trade deficit cut India's CAD to 1% of GDP in quarter two. Now, if we see the quarter two, our current account deficit has declined. It is to 8.3%. It is to 1% of the country's GDP, and it is basically related to narrowing of merchandise trade deficit. Now, merchandise trade deficit कम कैसे हुआ है? क्योंकि हमारा एक्सपोर्ट बढ़ा है, मर्चेंडाइज एक्सपोर्ट बढ़ा है इंपोर्ट के मुकाबले, जिसकी वजह से वी हैव बीन एबल टू नैरो दिस ट्रेड डेफिसिट. Now this is the point that we have to understand, and when we talk about current account deficit, then a current account deficit and capital account deficit basically is a part of our balance of payment, right? So ये basic figures हैं, एक से आप डेटा चेक कर सकते हैं. Okay, next point is very important. You need to know about these points. कि गवर्नमेंट वर्क कर रही है PLI schemes for steel sector in 24. I think everybody is aware of what is PLI schemes. These are production link incentive in order to make sure that the businesses are able to increase what we call it as a manufacturing and production, and that could be utilized for increasing our export as well. So that is why these PLI initiatives are very, very important, because government has been working on them, and it will be a very important step what we see over the next few years. As you can see over here, it has been said PLI ने attract किया है 95,000 करोड़. So this is a very big term that has been coming कि PLI scheme के अंदर काफी सारी चीजें हैं जहां पे लोग क्या कर रहे हैं, इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं. The sectors include electronics, telecommunication, pharma, AC and LED light components and textiles. The aim is to enhance India's manufacturing capabilities and export. If someone asks you a question, anything related to PLI, you need to understand two aspects. हम चाहते हैं इन्वेस्टमेंट आए, क्यों आए? ताकि हम मैन्युफैक्चरिंग बढ़ा सकें, प्रोडक्शन बढ़ा सकें, एंड वी कैन इंक्रीज द exports. If you are able to understand this point of PLI, I think all your doubts should be cleared from this. And PLI में कौन कौन सी जगह पे हम इन्वेस्टमेंट करवा रहे हैं, ये सेक्टर्स के बारे में आपको पता होना चाहिए. Okay. Now ये एक इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट आपको पता होना चाहिए, बस एक बार पढ़ लेना. रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी इन्वेस्टमेंट्स हैज इंक्रीज टू 83% टू 16.5 billion dollar in 2024, right? Okay, moving to the next part. Now these are all the news that I think everybody is aware. क्या चल रहा है, right? Now this is interesting point. Sweden's NATO bid gets Turkey's first nod. A key commitment in the Turkish parliament gave the green light for the Sweden's NATO membership, clearing another hurdle in the Nordic countries' accession in the wake of Russia's invasion. The Turkish Parliament's Foreign Affairs Committee improved Sweden's NATO membership after it submitted the plan. The move paves the way for a vote by the full parliament, where President Erdogan's alliance has a majority. It was not immediately clear when it would be, right? So this is a very interesting figure. That thing is coming out. पहले Finland join कर चुका है, if I am correct, and now Sweden is becoming a part. अगर हम बात कर रहे हैं of NATO, so it is going to be a big, big, big problem in the upcoming future, because when we say about Russia, they don't want NATO countries to be closer to them, right? So it's going to be a huge development that is coming place, and it is taking place that Sweden might get the membership to NATO. Okay, guys. So these are all the sports news I think we have, and we are done with the today's analysis, right? So guys, thank you so much. We are done with the today's analysis. You have any doubt, you can ask me. Neerath portal for foreign trade. Okay. हाँ जी. और किसी का कोई डाउट है तो पूछ सकते हैं. We are done with the today's analysis. राइट गाइस, सो कीप रीडिंग न्यूज़पेपर, एंड जो मैं आर्टिकल आपको बताता हूं, हम डिस्कस करते हैं. प्लीज एक बार घर जाके इसको एक बार रिवाइज कर लीजिए कीजिए, ठीक है? इसको अच्छे से पढ़ लीजिए करिए, क्योंकि इसमें आप ही का भला है. मैं बार बार ये बात रिपीट करता हूं, बिकॉज आई नो दैट हाउ मच इट इज इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर यू गाइस टू हैव सर्टेन let's say reading skills as well, because that's going to help you a lot in CSET examination. Because don't forget that prelims is not about general studies, it is part of your CSET as well. If you read one article daily, I think it would be very important and crucial, because it will help you make a lot of understanding of the article that are coming, and it will help you a lot in clearing your comprehension as well, right? So one of the things that can be in our hand is that if we are not good in maths or reasoning, then we can certainly be good in English language, right? So that is a very important part when we talk about CSAT. So be focused and give it your all. Don't take it lightly, because the new year is coming, right? एक दिन होगा 31st को एंजॉय करना, 1 तारीख से अपना फिर से पढ़ना शुरू करो और अपना रूटीन बनाओ. एंड दोज हु आर नॉट फॉलोइंग देयर रूटीन, सेइंग कि हम 1 तारीख के बाद पढ़ेंगे, अब छोड़ देते हैं थोड़े दिन के लिए, ये एक दिन कभी नहीं आने वाला. सो बी गिव इट योर ऑल and best of luck. Thank you so much. Take care. We will see each other tomorrow. Bye bye. Take care.